Most men spend their whole lives saying the wrong things and never understand why women slowly lose interest. But there are two simple words older men often say, words that quietly trigger attraction in ways most people never notice. Here is the truth most people miss about attraction. It rarely starts with looks, it rarely starts with money, and it almost never starts with perfect lines. Attraction begins with a feeling, a subtle emotional shift inside someone that says, this person is different. You see, younger men often try too hard. They chase approval. They over-explain. They try to impress. Older men, men who have lived, struggled, failed and grown, often communicate something far more powerful without realizing it. Calm certainty. And women are deeply sensitive to that emotional signal. Psychologically, humans are wired to search for emotional safety and strength in others. When someone appears calm, grounded, and unbothered by the chaos of life, it sends a powerful message to the subconscious mind. This person feels stable. This person feels safe. This person feels interesting. And interestingly, that signal often appears in the smallest phrases. Two simple words that change the entire emotional atmosphere of a conversation. The words are, I understand, not I know better, not you're wrong, not let me explain. Just two words, I understand. At first glance, it seems ordinary, almost too simple. But psychologically, these words create something extremely rare in human interaction: emotional validation. Most people spend conversations waiting for their turn to speak. They interrupt, they correct, they judge, they compete. But when someone says, I understand, something different happens. The conversation slows down, the emotional guard lowers, the brain shifts from defense to openness. Because deep down, every human being carries the same quiet desire to feel seen. Women especially are often highly attuned to emotional awareness. They notice tone, body language, patience, and subtle cues most people ignore. When a man listens calmly and simply says, I understand, it signals emotional intelligence. Not weakness, not submission, but awareness. And awareness is rare. Older men tend to develop this naturally through life experience. They've learned that arguing rarely builds connection. They've learned that people open up when they feel heard. Younger men often try to win conversations, but attraction rarely grows through competition. It grows through understanding. Think about the last time someone truly listened to you, not just hearing your words, but understanding your feelings. That moment feels powerful, doesn't it? Now imagine creating that feeling in someone else. That's what these two words quietly do. I understand. They create emotional space. They create trust, and trust is where attraction begins to breathe. Because the moment someone feels emotionally understood, something interesting happens inside their mind. They begin associating that calm feeling with you. And attraction, more often than people realize, is simply the brain chasing a feeling it wants to experience again. Older men don't always know this scientifically, but through life, they've learned it instinctively. And that quiet emotional wisdom changes everything. There's something fascinating about human psychology that most people never realize. People don't remember conversations the way they think they do. They remember how those conversations made them feel. A man might talk for hours, trying to sound impressive, sharing achievements, stories, opinions, plans. But if the emotional experience of that interaction feels tense, competitive, or overwhelming, the brain quietly registers discomfort. Now compare that to a very different kind of interaction. A calm presence, a relaxed voice, and at the right moment, those two simple words again, I understand. This small phrase does something powerful inside the human brain. It activates emotional safety. When someone feels emotionally safe, their nervous system relaxes. Their guard lowers, their mind becomes more open and curious. And curiosity is one of the earliest sparks of attraction. Think about it. Have you ever met someone who made you feel incredibly comfortable within minutes? Someone who didn't pressure you, didn't rush you, didn't make the conversation feel like a performance. Instead, they listened, they responded thoughtfully, they understood. That feeling creates a subtle emotional magnetism. Older men often develop this quality because they are no longer chasing validation the way younger men sometimes do. they've already learned an important truth about relationships. Connection grows in calm spaces, not in loud ones. Younger men sometimes try to prove themselves constantly, trying to demonstrate value, status, knowledge, but the irony is this: the more someone tries to prove their value, the more their behavior signals insecurity. True confidence rarely needs to announce itself. It simply shows up in how someone listens. And when a man says, "I understand," without rushing to correct or dominate the conversation, he sends an unconscious signal: "I'm not threatened by your thoughts. I'm comfortable with who I am. I respect your perspective." That level of emotional maturity is incredibly attractive because it's rare. Many people today experience conversations filled with interruptions, arguments, and people waiting for their turn to speak. Very few experience genuine understanding. That's why when it happens, it stands out, and the brain remembers it. But here's something even deeper about those two words. They don't just validate emotions, they demonstrate awareness. A man who understands emotions, his own and others, shows psychological stability. And stability is one of the strongest attraction signals in human relationships. Not perfection, not dominance, stability. Because deep down, everyone wants to feel that the person beside them is emotionally grounded. That they won't react wildly to every disagreement. That they won't turn every conversation into a battle. Older men, after years of navigating life, relationships, and personal growth, often carry that grounded presence naturally. And when they speak those two words, "I understand," they're not performing a tactic. They're expressing genuine emotional awareness. And that authenticity is something the human mind recognizes immediately. Because the truth is simple: anyone can memorize clever lines, but very few people truly understand others. And the moment someone feels understood, attraction quietly begins to grow. There is another psychological layer most people never talk about. Understanding someone does not mean agreeing with everything they say. That's a mistake many people make. When a man says, "I understand," he isn't surrendering his opinions or pretending to see the world exactly the same way. He's doing something much more powerful. He's acknowledging the emotion behind the words. This distinction is incredibly important. Because many conversations fail when people try to fix emotions instead of recognizing them. Imagine someone sharing a frustrating experience from their day, a stressful situation at work, a misunderstanding with a friend. Most people immediately respond with solutions. "You should do this. You should say that. You're overthinking it." But solutions are rarely what someone needs in the moment. What they need first is emotional recognition. That simple sense that someone hears them and respects their experience. When a man calmly says, "I understand," he creates that recognition. It signals patience. It signals maturity. And patience is deeply attractive because it shows control over one's emotions. Emotional control is one of the most powerful indicators of confidence. Anyone can remain calm when everything is going perfectly, but staying composed while listening to someone else's feelings requires real inner stability. Older men often develop this because life has already tested them. They've experienced setbacks, disappointments, and lessons that shape their perspective. Those experiences teach them something younger men are still discovering. Not every moment requires dominance. Some moments require presence, and presence is powerful. When someone feels that you're fully present with them, listening without distraction, responding without ego, it creates a rare kind of connection. In a world full of noise, presence feels almost magnetic. It makes people feel valued, and people are naturally drawn to those who make them feel valued. But there is another quiet reason these two words work so effectively. They reduce tension. Conversations can sometimes become emotional or intense. When perspectives differ, people instinctively prepare for disagreement. But the phrase "I understand" interrupts that tension. It reassures the other person that they're not about to be attacked or dismissed. And when tension disappears, something else appears in its place. Comfort. Comfort opens the door for deeper conversations, shared humor, vulnerability, and genuine curiosity about one another. Attraction rarely grows in environments filled with stress or pressure. It grows where people feel relaxed enough to be themselves. Older men who have developed emotional awareness often create this environment effortlessly. They aren't rushing to impress. They aren't trying to dominate every discussion. Instead, they listen, observe, and respond thoughtfully. And that calm emotional rhythm naturally draws people closer, because humans are incredibly sensitive to energy. A grounded, understanding presence feels rare, and rare qualities always attract attention. Now here's the deeper truth that changes everything. The words "I understand" only work when they come from a genuine place. People are far more emotionally perceptive than we give them credit for. They can sense when someone is pretending to listen and when someone truly is. That's why the real secret isn't the words themselves. It's the mindset behind them. Older men who naturally create attraction often share a similar perspective on life. They are curious about people, they are patient with emotions, and they don't feel the need to control every interaction. Instead of trying to impress, they observe. Instead of trying to dominate conversations, they allow them to breathe. And when someone expresses something meaningful, they respond with calm understanding. That quiet emotional intelligence stands out immediately, because many interactions today feel rushed and distracted. Phones buzz, notifications appear, people half listen while thinking about something else. But when someone gives you their full attention, something powerful happens. You feel important, you feel respected. And respect is one of the strongest foundations of attraction. Not flashy charm, not rehearsed lines. Respect. Those two words, "I understand," communicate respect in the simplest way possible. They show that you're listening. They show that you're emotionally aware. And they show that you value the other person's experience. When those signals combine with calm confidence, humor, and genuine curiosity, something remarkable begins to form: trust. Trust is the silent engine behind meaningful relationships. Without it, attraction fades quickly. With it, connections deepen naturally. Older men often carry this understanding because they've already experienced relationships where communication failed. They've seen what happens when people stop listening, and that experience teaches a powerful lesson. Connection isn't built by talking more, it's built by understanding better. That's why the simplest words sometimes carry the greatest emotional impact. I understand. Not dramatic, not complicated, but deeply human. And the people who master that quiet emotional awareness often create the strongest connections in life. Because everyone wants to feel understood, everyone wants to feel heard, and the rare person who can create that feeling becomes unforgettable. Now I'm curious about something. Have you ever met someone who made you feel truly understood in a conversation? Tell me in the comments, what did they say or do that made you feel that way? If this video gave you a new perspective on attraction and human psychology, take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with a friend who might need to hear this message today. Sometimes the smallest insights create the biggest changes in how we connect with others.